Well, hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're very excited to have this talk with you today about remodeling. There are so many different ways that a homeowner can go about figuring out their project, the right scope, the right features, how to juggle all of those considerations, and I will leave very talented Anne to explain the rest of that, the many things that go into figuring out a project. I just wanted to welcome everyone here tonight. We also have a few others from our design team, and some of you may have already been speaking with them. Melissa, Tamara, Ed, and we have Andrea and Manny here today. So you'll have plenty of opportunities to speak with our designers to dive into a little bit more about why you're here tonight. I will turn it over to Anne and enjoy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. As we said, my name is Anne. I've been with Cipriani for 8 years, and I'm a remodeling designer. So as we talk tonight, I'm going to share a lot of information with you about the remodeling process. I'll talk a little bit about Cipriani, but we realize that you're all talking to other people about this project. You're at different stages of it, but we want to convey as much information as we possibly can to you so that you can be informed when you do go through meeting with different contractors and help you know as much as you possibly can. So just to get started here, I will stand behind my computer back here because I had to click on this presentation here. But let's talk about the agenda. How do you begin? What types of things have to be done when you do a project? We're going to talk about processes. I believe that every good remodeling company should have processes in place. Cipriani has a 5-step process, which I'll share with you a little bit more. But if a company does not have the processes in place, it does make for an unsuccessful project. So processes is a big deal. And then we're going to talk about questions and answers. If you have any questions in the middle of what I'm talking about, just raise your hand. We'll be happy to talk. We're going to keep it low-key. We'll keep it informal. So if you have something you want to know that I didn't clarify, then please just shout it out for me. Okay. So how do you begin your project? So some of you already have an idea of what you want to do. At least you've decided you want to do a kitchen or a bathroom or an addition. So at least you have one thing started. But a lot of people say to us, I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. So what we recommend at this point, if you're at that point of I don't know where to begin, start to formulate a little bit of a plan of what you want to do. Just come up with, let's say you're doing a kitchen. Just come up with, I want to gut the kitchen, or I just want to do a couple little changes. I want to knock down a wall, or I want to leave the kitchen as it is. I want to blow out the wall. I want to make this kitchen gigantic. I want to do an addition. I don't like where the sink is. I don't like where the refrigerator is. Try to come up with a basic plan so that we can then guide you through the next couple of steps. Think about things like, do the windows need to be replaced? Think about things like, is the refrigerator in the way of where you walk? Like, think about things that are driving you crazy about that area, and then we can then take it from there. The key to having a plan, especially if you're talking to multiple contractors in the beginning stages, is you want to be conveying the same message. You don't want to tell contractor A that you're knocking down a wall, and then contractor B, no, I don't think we're knocking down that wall, and then contractor C, oh, we're renovating the whole house. That will just make it very, very confusing for you. And when you get all of their estimates back, they're all going to say something different. So try to come up with a consistent plan of what you want to do. When we first visit your house, we'll help you formulate that plan if you have no idea. We'll guide you through where to go. If you have no idea what to do now or what kind of plans you have now, start looking at Pinterest, start looking at Instagram, start looking at House, start looking at things online. Just pick things that should inspire you a little bit. So many questions. You probably have a million questions about how to do a project. Have any of you done many projects in the past? You've done a couple? Anybody done a lot of projects, or you just kind of, no, not really? Okay, all right, so you probably have a lot of questions. So where do I find my design inspiration? So I believe that design inspiration is really sparked by something. Something made you say, I gotta do this kitchen, or something made you say, I wanna do this bathroom. Maybe it's that you're kitchen is painted blue and you can't stand the color blue. You really want it yellow. So that's going to inspire you to do your kitchen. Maybe you saw a picture at Home Goods and you said, oh, I love that scene. That would go great in my bathroom, but it doesn't really match my bathroom. So now I got to gut my bathroom. Maybe your dishwasher broke and you can't get it out. And now you have to do, the whole kitchen because you can't get the dishwasher out. So you have to have something that inspires you, and it could be an appliance that broke, or it could be, a great thing that you saw. So try to come up with some type of an inspiration. Houzz, are you familiar with Houzz? Are you familiar with Instagram? Oh, I know you guys are all probably familiar with Instagram, but have you ever looked at Houzz, for different ideas?
How are you spelling?
Houzz. So you can just Google, you go on Houzz and just put in the search, bathroom ideas. You could say blue bathroom ideas, and it'll give you all kinds of ideas. So now there's so much out there that we have homeowners who come to us with papers and say, here's what I want, here's all the things that I want, and it makes it possible. So try to, do some of those places for some of your inspiration. I also think that a project that you do should reflect your personality. So you might be looking at Houzz or Instagram or all these great things and see that everybody's doing navy blue cabinets, but you might not like navy blue cabinets, but you're looking at it everywhere. Make sure whatever you're trying to do conveys your personality so that it turns out to be a reflection of you, not just a reflection of what you saw in a magazine. So is this the right project for my family needs? Think about the future. Today you're going to do a bathroom and you're fine and you don't need any grab bars or anything like that, but maybe in 7 years you might need a grab bar. So plan for the things that might happen in the future. Today you might have one child and you're doing your kitchen, but in 4 years you might have 5 kids. So plan for the fact that you need a bigger kitchen and you need certain things to go in there. So don't just plan for today, try to think about your future and what that will look like. Especially future, nobody wants to talk about bathrooms with grab bars. Everyone thinks, oh my God, a grab bar. I'm not old, I'm not going to use a grab bar. But they're much cooler now. And if you plan properly for the future, then you won't have to knock down, some tile on the wall to, plan when you need that. Hi, how are you? How do you choose the right materials and colors? Right materials and colors, there are so many options out there. I mean, just go to any store and you'll see there's a million different things. If you hire the right company who has a remodeling designer like we do, we will help you through that process. We'll help you with your selections, we'll help you with your materials. But again, it starts with an inspiration. So go with what you love. If you love that color yellow, let us know that early on. So we'll try to formulate the design based on some of your goals and your wishes. What level investment makes sense? So we are going to talk about that. Sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but we do like to talk about with you because it's an important thing that we have to know. We're certainly, think about when you buy a house. When you went shopping for your house, you certainly didn't look at $1 million houses if you told the realtor your budget was only $100,000. So we like to do the same thing. We're going to ask you what your investment goals are so that we can tailor your project towards those goals. Sometimes your investment goals don't always align with your dream, and then we help you figure that out. Some people have an unlimited budget of what they want to do, and some people have a specific amount. So if you share with us that specific amount, then we can tailor the project towards that specific amount so that you can have the right project that you're comfortable with investing in. What is the right time of year to start? Right time of year to start is whenever you think it's best for you. Think about what your summer looks like. Think about your family schedule. Think about, if you're going to be away for a long time. That might be a great time to do a project if you're away. This way all the hassle and all the mess is done while you're gone and you can come home to a pretty finished project. A lot of people like to do a kitchen so that the kitchen is being done during warmer months so you can grill outside. A lot of people like to do it during the holidays so they don't have to host Christmas and Thanksgiving. So think about those times because that's important, and we'll ask you those questions too so we can guide you along. What hidden costs? People always ask that question. What hidden costs should I expect? You often hear the horror stories of, oh, the contractor charged me $60,000 for my bathroom, and we started doing the bathroom, and then suddenly, we got a bill for $20,000 more, and then another $10,000. Then he told us he didn't plan for that, and suddenly it cost us $95,000 that we were not expecting. So you have to talk about that early on with whomever you're meeting with. Ask them how they do their estimating and what do they plan for. We try to plan ahead very early in the project. We try to plan for the unexpected, and I'll talk about that a little bit further. So if you asked me what kind of hidden cost would we have, I'd like to say minimal to none. We don't like change orders. We don't like to go to you and say, sorry, that's going to be $5,000 more, so sorry. We try to plan ahead for that. Do you ever watch HGTV and the lady calls on the phone, love it or list it, hello homeowner? Yeah, that wall you wanted to take down? Sorry, that's going to be $10,000 more. And already the wall's down, so they don't have any choice. We don't like to do that. We like to plan properly. And that is an important thing when you're talking to other contractors, that you absolutely have to ask those questions. How do you plan? What permits will you need? Anyone ever have to do permits with their town? Anyone? No? Well, it's a pain in the neck. We do it all for you. We have Don at our office who handles all the permitting for you. So he'll file, he'll plan, he'll submit everything, any documentation that is needed, he'll send it back in. We don't involve you at all in the permitting process. We handle all of that for you. Some towns, I shouldn't say it's a nightmare, but some towns do make it very hard for us. Go ahead.
How do you know what permits you'll need?
We'll tell you. So say for a kitchen, we'll need, if you're knocking down a wall or if you're building any structure, we'll need either an engineering document or a framing permit. We'll have a framing inspection, I should say. Electric, we'll need to have an electrical inspection. Plumbing, we'll need to have a plumbing inspection. So all those things, when we submit for a permit, we have to tell them what the project is. So then we have to get the permit and we have to get inspections for all of those things. So we'll know exactly what needs to be done. It's different for every township. It's depending on if you're doing an addition versus a bathroom. An addition's going to require a lot more than a bathroom necessarily would. Okay, so how do you choose the right contractor? Well, the answer for this one is to choose us, but we know that you're in the early stages of your project, and we think it's important for you to look at multiple people and to learn from different contractors how they do things, because there is a vast difference between a contractor. There's so many different kinds out there. You have the handyman, you have the small general contractor, you have the large contractors that do commercial business. You have the design build firms. You have the design build firms that are only two people, and the designer of the design build is the contractor's wife. So you have to understand the company that you are going to talk to. We are a design build firm. We're a design build firm that's been in business for 47 years. We have 9 designers. We have a whole team of people, and we truly are the definition of a design build. That phrase, that term has been taken very loosely over the years, and some contractors are calling themselves design builds, like I said, but their wife, who is a stay-at-home mom, is the designer. So it's not really a fair assessment, because we have a whole team of people working on your project where they just say they have their, a designer because the wife likes to paint or something like that. So just be careful who you're talking to. Know who you're talking to. That person might be lovely and they might do a great job for it, but it's important for you to know that person. You have to make sure they're licensed. You have to make sure that they are licensed with the state. You have to make sure that they have all the certifications. You have to make sure that they have workman's comp. You can ask them for all these things and they could say, oh yeah, I got all that. But you want to verify it. You want to see their documentation. You want to make sure they're registered with the state. You want to look at their documentation and verify it so that you know that's true. Sadly, I can't tell you how many stories we've heard of people who have gone with contractors that just weren't honest and really have hurt them through the years. So you just want to make sure that you are verifying everything. Can they provide references? If they can't provide you a lot of names, then run really fast. You want to talk to people who have done projects with that company recently, and you also want to talk to them about people that they've done projects for years ago. Because in all honesty, you really want to talk to the people who have had a project done 5 years ago, because you want to know how that project held up. Like, everything's going to look pretty when a contractor is going to be done. You know, it's all going to be nice and neat and pretty, but if in 3 years, you know, half of the things broke, then you want to make sure that you understand the different type of people who have done projects with that contractor. How long have they been in business? Did you know that most remodeling companies go out of business within 5 years of their start? Like, I had heard that statistic a while back, and I was kind of really floored at that statistic. So that's a scary thing, that, you know, after 5 years, they haven't sustained their business and they haven't done a good enough job, and they've gone out of business. And hopefully you're not one of those people who have done a job within those 5 years. Because if there is a problem, they're not coming back to fix it for you. So you're on your own, and you have to then invest in all kinds of money to fix the problem. So make sure they have a lot of longevity, and find out, research it. Again, verify is like the key word in this topic. What do their online reviews look like? Everybody loves to write a review. Some like to write the good ones, some like to write the bad ones. But you want to read all those reviews. Don't take it for granted that, you know, they're saying they're wonderful. So get names and look at their reviews before you even meet with anybody. Warranties. Do they offer any kind of warranties? Do they offer an extended warranty? What's New Jersey's rule on that?
You know, it's interesting, because most people think that there is a requirement to offer a warranty. And unfortunately, there is not. In the state of New Jersey, it could be 1 day, it could be 1 month, it just has to be in writing, but there is no obligation to provide a warranty for work in New Jersey with contracting.
Which is crazy, yeah, it is. You need somebody who has a warranty, and has a warranty in writing. Our warranty is a 3-year warranty, and then we have a limited lifetime service warranty after that expires. But 3 years is a good amount of time to have a warranty. If someone says they have a 1-year warranty, that's not great, because most likely within a year your project will remain perfect. Nothing's going to happen to your project after a year. The caulk is going to stay in place. The nail pops are going to be fine. But after a year, things start to settle and things start to, you know, shift a little bit maybe. That's when you want to call the company and say, hey, the caulk at the crown molding separated a little bit. Can you come back and fix it? Well, if they only had a 1-year warranty, they're not coming back. So you want a company that has a longer warranty than 1 year. 3 years is really good, because you've had opportunities over the years to go through the seasons, right? You've had the cold, you've had the hot, you've had the snow, you've had the 95-degree days. So 3 years allows several years to go through those seasons. So just make sure you have a company that has a good warranty. What type of materials do they use, and what are their installation techniques? Materials. A lot of people, a lot of contractors will go to the big box stores and get materials. A lot of them will give you an allowance of $3 for, you know, a tile for your bathroom. There is a difference. Like, take a toilet from Kohler. If you buy a toilet from Kohler at one of the plumbing supply stores versus buying at a big box store, they are two different materials. It's all in the inside. So you're familiar with that? Yeah. Have you had an experience with that?
We went with the better one, but yeah, we've purchased other ones in the house from Home Depot, and there's no comparison.
Yeah, but they look exactly alike. And sometimes they even have the same name. Like, they make it really confusing, but they are two totally different products. So ask your contractors, where are you getting your materials from? If they're getting it from Home Depot or, you know, one of the big box stores, it's okay, but just know that it's not as good as others. When you're getting estimates from multiple contractors, it's really hard to compare apples to apples unless you ask these questions. So you have to be asking these questions so that you can understand why this person was $40,000 and this person was $60,000. The $60,000 quote is probably a realistic one, whereas the $40,000 one, you should be saying, well, wait, what aren't you doing? Because instead of saying to the $60,000 why is it so expensive? You should be saying to the 40,000, like, what aren't you doing? So materials is a big deal. Allowances is another big deal. So somebody who gives you an allowance for $3 a square foot, you're not getting a tile for $3 a square foot. I guarantee you that there will be a change order down the road, because you picked a $13 a square foot tile. It's not unrealistic to have a $13 square foot tile. So you have to make sure you're understanding what they're giving you and what they're providing you. How are they installing? Take a shower, for example. There's lots of ways to install a shower. There's the quick, easy ways to install a shower. We use a system called the Schluter shower system, which is good. I love that you're familiar with that. So that system is a great system. It's a more expensive system. It's harder to install, but we use that system, and we have a million things that we use just like that system so that we can make sure your project will last. We have the warranties in place, and of course, if we need to use those warranties, we certainly will, but we don't want to. We want to build it right the first time, so you never have to call us again with any issues. Schluter shower system is one, and if you could say that fast 4 times, then we'll give you a 10% discount. Subcontractors. A lot of people hear that word and they think, ooh, subcontractors, that's a dirty word. What do you guys think? You're nodding, do you? Yeah. A lot of people ask us, do we use subcontractors? And the answer is sort of. A lot of companies use subcontractors for economic reasons, and it just makes more sense to do it. We use what we call trade partners. By definition, they are subcontractors, but they are people that we have worked with for years and years and years. John, the plumber. I could call John. I could pick up the phone right now and say, John, my faucet's leaking. Come over. And he'd say, okay, I'll be right there. I could call Joe, and Joe would help me with my electric on any project. The majority of their business comes from us. So they, in essence, they don't work for us, but they are so much like our employees that we use them all the time. They're great. We vet them. We train them on the Cipriani ways. We do everything to make sure that they are similar. They're following the same similar processes that Cipriani has, and they're just really good. So it's important to ask people who their subcontractors are, who they're using, how they're getting them. It's easy to open the phone book and call ABC Plumber. We don't do that. We have our certain ones that we use, but some people will do that. They'll just call anybody. I had somebody walk in the showroom yesterday. They were a flipper. They flipped houses. And they were just looking for a subcontractor to do the electric work and the plumbing work. And they were just asking anybody. They didn't care who they were using. They were just asking anybody because they wanted it done fast and they wanted it done quick. So just be careful with the definition that people give you for their subcontractors. You just wanted to make sure that they are part of their family as opposed to somebody they pull out of the phone book. Okay, so Cipriani has a 5-step process. I want to share a little bit with you about our 5-step process. Our 5-step process is why I work here. So let me give you a little history about my previous life. My previous job, I worked for a company where I helped homeowners with their material selections. 80 builders were my accounts. So I got to see how the little guys did work. I got to see how the big guys did work. Cipriani, in all fairness, was not my client at that point. So the builders would send their homeowners to me, and I would help them with their selections. And I can't tell you how difficult that job was to help these poor homeowners, because the homeowners would come in and they had no idea what to ask for. They had no idea what their budget was. They had no idea what the size of their walls were. They had no idea what the timeline for that material was. They had no idea what they were allowed to do and what they weren't allowed to do. So I had to dig that information out of the homeowner and the builder so that I could properly give them a design. It was very frustrating. Then the contractor would call me and say, oh, I need that material tomorrow. Well, you can't get it tomorrow. You needed to plan a little bit better. But that story just repeated itself over and over and over again didn't matter what size the builder was. It just was very frustrating to work with people without a process. So when it came time for me to meet with Cipriani, we have a production room in the back, which we can go back and peek through before you leave. Cindy Cipriani took me back into our production room and showed me the 5-step process that Cipriani had. And I was just floored because no builder had a process. No builder had anything that they set in any formal way to make a job go smoother. So I was floored, and I knew I had to work here just because of that process. So 8 years later, I'm still here, and I am still here because of those processes, because those processes make for a successful project, and they make my life easier as a designer. So let's talk a little bit about those processes. Okay, so we have our 5 steps are listen, design, refine, define, and build. So listen. Listen is probably the most important step of a project for us. That's where we get to know you. That's where we get to understand what your dreams are, what your wishes are, what your hopes are, what your budget is. We get to find out all that good information. Because without that information, I can't do very much that's going to meet your goals. So listening is very important to us. First time I come into your home, or we come into your home, I'm going to ask to sit at your kitchen table so we could talk about the project before I see your bathroom. I want to hear your ideas. I want to get to know you. I want to look around your house a little bit to see what your style is. I want to know what some of your pains are, what some of the things that you love about your bathroom before we go upstairs to the bathroom, and then I get to formulate my own opinions. But I want to get to know you. So listening is really, really important. Don't ever do a job with somebody who comes in with a clipboard and a pen and says, oh, let me go upstairs and measure. And they do this, and okay, yeah, I think that's $93,000. Like, no, you don't want to do that. There is a process to getting the right project for you, and you have to go through that. And that's why the listening with us is an extremely important step. We're going to do a lot of discussion about the design. We're remodeling designers. We love design. So we're going to talk a lot about, what you want it to look like, what we think it should look like. We're going to talk about styles. We're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about layout. We're going to talk about removing that wall, not removing that wall. What's the economic impact of removing a wall versus keeping it? So we're going to have a lot of fun talking about all of those different things. We're going to have that hard discussion about budget. Investment goals. You might tell me you have an unlimited budget, and we love that. Nobody ever says that, but but we love that. So if you do, that's great. Or you might say, Ann, I only have $95,000 for this project. What can we do? So I'm going to want to know that so I can steer you in the right direction. You might tell me you have a $95,000 budget, but you want all marble walls throughout your entire floor, and I'm going to have to say, you can't get that. So we'll have realistic conversations along the way. Company insight. Part of that meeting, that listening meeting, is I want you to learn a little bit about us. You have to learn about the company. If someone's coming in and just interested in your measurements and your design, your ideas and your costs, you don't want that. You want somebody to share the information about them, who they are, what they do, how they do it, what their warranties are, all of those different things. You want to learn a little bit about the company at that first visit. And then after that visit where we're at your house, you should understand what the next steps are. Contractors should leave your house with a clear goal of what's going to happen next. So when we leave a house, our next step is to set an appointment with you here at our office, where we talk about the design, where we talk about the investment, where we share a little bit more information about Cipriani. So and we set a date. If someone's not setting a date with you of when that will be ready for you, that's a red flag. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, then the design. First we do, so I'm trying to think of the order which was easiest to explain to you. So after we leave your house, we come back and we take all the information that we just gathered from you and we create a scope of work. Like, okay, for demo, great, we have to gut the bathroom and they want to remove the carpet in the hallway. And then we're going to frame a new wall, and then we're going to add 14 recessed lights, and then we're going to add a sink and a faucet. So we're going to go down the list of all the things that have to be done for the project. And then I'm going to sit with our estimator and I'm going to say, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. And Don is going to create an estimate for your project. We're also going to be doing some preliminary drawings. So scope of work. We're going to create that. We're also going to be doing some preliminary drawings of what we saw at your house. So we'll be coming up with a 2D plan and an elevation plan and a 3D plan so that when you come back to our office, I can show you what we can do. So just be careful of this step with others. So a lot of times other contractors at this point will say, well, if you want to design, if you want me to draw something, I'm going to charge you a couple $1,000s. So that's not right. That's not fair. It's our job as a contractor to show you what we're capable of, and that's how we are showing you what we're capable of. We're going to take your ideas. We're going to take our ideas. We're going to take your measurements that we did, and we're going to come up with a plan. I'm going to show you what your kitchen can look like, and I'm going to show you in 2D, and I'm going to show you in 3D. And we're going to give you a basic concept. That concept is an interpretation of what we've heard at our first visit with you. Of course, it's not the final. We still have a lot to do before we get to the final, but that at least gives us our scope of work, and our preliminary drawings are at least going to allow us to get a good estimate range for you. So your 2D drawings, your elevations, your investment range. When we meet again at our second appointment, we're going to give you an investment range. We're not going to tell you that your project is going to be $99,000, and I'm just making that number up, so don't panic when I say all this. $99,945. We're going to give you a range. We're going to say that project's going to be $99,000 to $125,000. The reason we do that is because we've only talked to you for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and there is no way that we can, in all fairness, give you an exact estimate. We haven't picked materials. We haven't defined the scope. We don't know how many recessed lights you're doing. We don't know what's behind that wall you want to take down. So there's so many things that we just don't know quite yet, so we give you a range. And anybody who gives you an exact number at this early point, just be prepared for change orders, because there's no way for that person to fully understand your project. So you want to make sure that you're getting an estimate range. When I meet with you again, another thing to be cautious of is the person who comes in and says, okay, Lynn, here's your estimate. It's 1 page. There's 12 things on there, and it's going to be $99,000. I'm going to do demo. I'm going to do framing. I'm going to get you some faucets. I'm going to do some tile, and here you go. Like, you don't want that. You want a very exact proposal based on your project. So ours looks like something like this. So it's a multi-page document that will talk about our steps, and it's going to talk about exactly what we do from the order of how we build. So we'll start to talk about demolition, we'll start to talk about permits, we'll talk about property protection, deconstruction, electric, framing, insulation, HVAC, drywall, tile, flooring, portable toilet. Everything that we're going to be doing is going to be outlined in this estimate. So you can walk away and think, okay, I got it. I got what they're doing. I understand it. I feel comfortable with moving forward because I fully understand what they're going to be doing for me. So this is an important part of understanding a good contractor, is what they're giving you when you go for the estimate part. Has anyone ever had a contractor come in and just give them a piece of paper with 12 things on it for a project? Yeah. You just don't know what's going to happen when you get something like that, right? Could turn out great, but you're rolling the dice and no. Yeah, it's an important thing, and it's the right thing to do, to be fair to you. Okay, so then we have the role of the designer. You have 3 choices here when you are doing a project. You can be your own designer. You could do everything on your own. You can hire an interior designer and an architect, or you can partner with a company like us who does all of that for you and with you. So, you as the designer, you could be a great designer. Your house could be perfect and gorgeous, and every color matches, and every bedding is perfect, and everything, your carpets and your hardwood floors, it's all perfect. But are you capable of doing a big project like this? So who wants to be their own designer? Is there anybody who wants to do all that? No? Okay. All right, you're all giving the right answers today. Did I cue you up before you got here? Yeah, it's very hard to be your own designer. There's just so many things to manage. When I do a kitchen, let's pull this out. This is my kitchen checklist. There are about 100 and, I counted one day, I think there's about 170 things on this checklist of things that I have to do to create your kitchen. So those people who say they want to do it on their own, I can pass this around for you to look at. Those people who say they want to do it on your own, great, but just know that you have 168 things to do. And what if one of those things doesn't work out the way you wanted it to? What if you don't order enough tile and the tile installer is there and he has 3/4 of your shower done and you don't have enough tile, and then you have to go order more, but oh my gosh, there's no dye lot left, and now you have a different color tile, and now you have to rip the whole tile down, and now it's going to cost you another $10,000, and the contractor has another job, so he's got to put your job on hold for another 4 weeks because now he has to go work somewhere else, and now you're out of a shower. So like, these are the nightmares that could possibly happen when you do this on your own. These things don't happen with us. We guide you through the process of how to do it so that it is all done smoothly, and we have all this planned. So once that job starts, it just goes like a perfect musical instrument. The other way, and this applies a lot to people who are doing an addition. You can hire an interior designer, or you can hire your own architect before you talk to a builder. A lot of people, I'll tell you a little story about a recent project that we had. So we had somebody come in who wanted to do an addition, and they brought us beautiful architect plans. There were 13 pages of architect plans for this beautiful addition that they wanted to do. They threw the plans down. They were extremely impressive. The project was amazing. It was absolutely gorgeous. They paid, I think, $24,000 for those plans, and they were so proud of them, which they should be because they were gorgeous plans. So once we started to go look at it and figure out how we're going to do it and what we're going to do and how much it's going to cost, and we were able to give them an investment goal, an investment range, and they said, "What? We can't afford that. Like, we can't even afford a third of that." Well, that's because they went to the architect and told him this wonderful dream. And I love architects. There's a great place for them in all of our projects. But it's not in the early stages because the architect is building to whatever you ask for. And he doesn't know what your budget is, and he doesn't know what things cost, he or she. So they are just building and drawing and drawing and drawing. And then when you finally go to a builder and the builder puts dollar amounts to it, people are like, "Oh my God, I can't do that." So that this poor homeowner then had to go back to that architect, redraw all of those plans for another $9,000. So they spent like $33,000 on these architect plans that shouldn't have cost them $33,000. So what we do is we talk to you first. We come up with a plan. We come up with a design. We come up with your budget. We come up with all the right things. And then when it comes time to go to the architect, he just has to draw. He doesn't have to do much besides draw what we've already planned. An interior designer would work the same way. Both the architect and the designer comes with large fees, and they also take a lot of time. So going to a builder first is better than going that other avenue. It just makes for a more efficient project. Okay, the best way to do it is to use us. To use a remodeling designer. So we are a team of remodeling designers, and we're going to do all of that for you. It makes for a very smooth, successful project. We don't charge you for that service. It comes with our whole package, so it's not like, every time I do a drawing, I'm going to charge you $3,000 for a drawing. It comes with our entire package. It serves as, we're the main point of contact. So I'm going to meet with you. We will meet with you. One of our designers will meet with you in your kitchen table, and we're going to be with you all the way to the very end of the project. We're going to develop the project. We're going to work with the project manager when the project gets built, and we're going to be there all of us to the very end. So it makes for a smooth, very seamless process. So if you had to choose of, I want to be my own designer, or I want to hire an interior designer, or I would like to work with a remodeling designer, what would you choose? Good job, good job. Okay, so let's just recap. We've done a lot already. Let's pretend we're in the middle of your project. We've done a lot. We have some preliminary ideas. You've met with a few contractors. They've provided 2D and 3D drawings to review. They've shared an estimated range. They've discussed possible materials. You chose a company like us that offers remodeling designers. And now you're set for step 3, which is where the fun begins. This is where the creative and the designs start to come into play. So this is where we refine the project. You don't need to tell us the structural things. Like, I don't need your help to tell me how to run the wires, and I don't need you to tell me how to run the plumbing, or I don't need you to tell me how to take down that wall. We're going to handle that. I want you to be involved in the fun part of the project. I want you to help me with selections and say, Ann, I like that, or I don't like that, or, you know, could we do more blue? Could we do more purple? So you're going to be involved in the fun part of the project, not the technical part of the project. We're going to do the technical part of the project. We're going to do the layouts, we're going to do the budget considerations, we're going to do the trade partner coordination, site visits, and material selections with you. Uh-oh, technical problem. Hold on, there we go. Shoo. Okay, first thing we're going to do, so those preliminary renderings I showed you a little bit earlier, they have to be fine-tuned. When we meet you for our second appointment, we're going to have a preliminary drawing for you, but we are going to fine-tune them to perfection. Every single detail has to be spelled out. So as you can see, there's more detail to this project. There's numbers, there's sizes. 1/4 of an inch is a really big deal to us. If I design your cabinet and I'm off 1/4 of an inch, I just messed up a bunch of cabinets. So these are the things that we spend a lot of time on, and you eventually will have proper, perfect drawings after we go through all of this. So you're going to eventually see a 2D drawing. You're eventually going to see a elevation drawing. You're eventually going to see a beautiful 3D drawing. This project, and I have it on my phone, this project started about, I don't know, 4 weeks ago. So I have pictures of exactly what's going on. The cabinets are just starting to be installed there. But this cabinet, this kitchen is kitchen in progress, and this is actually what the 3D renderings looked like when they decided to move forward with the project. So you're going to get all these, and you're going to see all these pretty pictures. We're going to discuss styles. And I use the word styles instead of trends. I don't like the word trends. I don't really like trends. I like styles because trends come and go. I want your project to be timeless. I don't want it to be trendy. I do think we will use some trendy elements in your project, but I don't want you to have a trendy kitchen, or I don't want you to have a trendy bathroom. So I'm going to use the word styles because that allows us to have more flexibility over the years. So let's talk about some of the different styles and what's hot today. Anyone have any ideas of, like, in your head, do you know that you want a modern kitchen, or do you know you want to, anybody have any thoughts about what they're doing in their project yet? No? Yeah? What are you thinking?
I want a shower unit that is a rolling, no curtain, no everything. You roll in case of a wheelchair.
Love it.
Handicap.
Yep.
And that's what I'm basically looking for. Something that's no doors, just flat.
Yep. Brilliant idea. Everybody should have that. Like, you underestimate the curb in your shower, even though it's only that high. To get your foot over there, if you broke your foot, it's a big deal. So a curbless shower that you can go right into is a wonderful thing. So we do a lot of them. Very easy to navigate at all different levels. Plus, it's not just a good thing for aging, it's beautiful. Like, a curbless shower is beautiful. We have a picture of a curbless shower anywhere?
We had moved some things around recently, so I haven't tracked it.
I know. Well, one of us will show you a picture of our curbless showers. So what's hot these days? A lot has changed over the recent years. For many years, as you look through our pictures, it's been white, gray. Everything's been white and gray. But that, over the last 2 years, is starting to change, and it's starting to change a lot more now. So gray is no longer, white is no longer like the dominant color anymore. It is going to some more bolder and more warmer color tones. Here's a perfect example of some of the palettes that are popular these days, and they're kind of extreme. So you have the dark, warm colors, the dark, deep colors, kind of mixed with the milky pastels. So Bob and Jamie were my recent clients, and Jamie just wanted all pastels. She just loved every pastel color. She wanted pink, she wanted purple, she wanted light green. Bob didn't like any of those colors. He wanted the dark. He wanted the dark and bold colors. So we were able to incorporate both, and they were beautiful together. So you could see how this color palette, kind of works together if you select some of the right colors. So that's what we'll do for you. We'll take, some of the ideas that you have and some of the ideas that you have, and we'll formulate them together. Hot color of the year, Benjamin Moore. Color of the year is a color called Silhouette, and Sherwin-Williams is Universal Khaki. And I think Ed, this storyboard, so this is a storyboard. This is what we call a storyboard or a mood board. And we developed this for our homeowners so that they can kind of see what the whole picture looks like. Wasn't this yours for a project?
That was. It was a primary bathroom that we had done in Mullica Hill.
Can you tell us about it?
Well, as Ann was saying, she likes to focus on the word style as opposed to trends. And one of the things I think that we do really well here at Cipriani with our designer team is we work with our homeowners to try to draw out their style. Some of you might be sitting here and thinking, I don't even know that I have a style. You do. It's in the clothes that you choose. It's in some of the colors that you might pick for a coffee mug. It's in the color of your car or the car's interior. When I met the Wilsons down in Mullica Hill, they definitely had a style that they wanted drawn out. When it was articulated, it was a little bit here and a little bit over there. Carla had a particular desire. Ken was a little bit more grounded in some of his colors, no different than Ann sharing about the pastels and the bolder colors. But they both agreed and that they did not want this white, gray, spa-like primary bathroom. So ultimately, when we started going through some of the materials and colors, we ended on what you can kind of feel very, very kind of deep, almost loungy, or some of the words I had used to describe the evolution of their bathroom. Dark, bold colors, feeling as if they were on vacation, and different from a vacation with crisp white and teak woods and comfy white robes, hung on the wall. They wanted to feel more, yes. So a little bit more, deeper tones, maybe a Havana, Cuba, something a little bit more, aged and rustic. But that's ultimately where we ended up going, with this particular board.
I love that. And did that start construction yet?
No, we're still in the planning phases, and like Ann had said, for a lot of projects where we're working with multiple materials, or we're in a large space, or we're trying to coordinate what's happening in the foyer and the kitchen and the family room, we'll put together materials so that people can kind of get a sense of what they've chosen and making sure that things go with other things. I know Ann has some other examples of how our design team puts together materials. But no, project starting this summer.
One of the things I love about what we do, there's 9 of us, 9 designers, and we have our meetings every week. We have a meeting every Wednesday, and we talk about our projects. So we have 80 projects every year that Cipriani does. So a lot of times I have no idea what everyone's doing, but I did get a sense of what Ed was doing on that project, and we talk about them. So we're able to collaborate and share all of our ideas. So it's really neat, and I can't wait to see the end result of that. So let me tell you how I really feel about trends. I think trends are good. I think trends are fun, but they don't belong in everybody's home. I think you need to go with what you're passionate about. If yellow is not a trendy color, but you love yellow, then do yellow in your house. Do what you love, because your home needs to reflect your personality. You don't want something to be different than how you feel every day, because then you're not going to like it. So do what you love. Don't get caught up in trends. We'll do a couple little trends here and there, but don't get too caught up in the trends. Okay, so let's see. White. White was so popular for, 12 years. I think if somebody else asked me to do a white kitchen 2 years ago, I was going to scream. Everything was a white kitchen. So, and you'll see by most of our pictures, everything is a white kitchen. White is still popular. There's definitely still white kitchens out there. But white was a brighter white was more popular. But now the whites are toned down a little bit. Can you see the difference between those? So one's a bright white and one's just a little bit of a warmer, creamier white. So people are still doing white, but they're just going a little bit softer and a little bit creamier so that you can blend that with creamier colors. This white looked great with the stark gray, but this white is going to allow you to bring a little bit of a warmer, creamier color into the mix. What is very popular now is wood is back. So those of you who've had wood cabinets for the past 10 years, you weren't very cool. But now you're cool again because you could do wood, but the woods have become a different color. So some of your oak cabinets that you might have in your house or your neighbor's house are a little bit more of a golden, a honey color, a little bit of a yellowy color. The oaks have gotten to be more of a whitish color. So they're a lighter color. They blend beautifully with so many different things. They blend with the whites. They blend with the darks. They blend with everything. People are mixing the oaks with a painted cabinet just to have a little bit of a difference. Maybe the island could be an oak and the perimeter cabinets could be a painted color. So another popular color we're doing these days is a color like this. So you can see how some of these go really nicely together. The countertops materials used to be very stark white, but now they're getting a little bit warmer also. So whereas this used to be just a stark white countertop, now you're seeing a little bit of a warmer color come out. So it's a softer color palette, and it's just very soft and very warm. So you could see the whites and you could see just the difference between a kitchen like this and a kitchen like that. It's just a little bit of a softer, warmer tone. Open spaces. Open spaces are big. I can't tell you how many walls we've knocked down in the past couple of years. Everybody wants the wall between their kitchen and dining room knocked down. And absolutely, we can do that for you. So, and that makes you have a big, open, beautiful concept in your kitchen. Natural light. I'm going to let Ken talk about light. I'm going to call you out on lighting in another minute too, because Ken geeks out when it comes to natural light and lighting.
I do. So I'm just talking about natural light now?
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than color, temperature, and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody likes a lot of natural light, right? We don't want our homes to feel dark because that also kind of closes them in. It's not as welcoming. So many people are asking to get more natural light, and how do you do that? Well, you can add windows. You can expand existing openings. Certainly when we're doing an addition, people are saying, well, I want to maximize not only the natural light, but the views that are now a part of this. And we can see in something like a sunroom how beneficial that is looking at the yard. Bathrooms are another big place where we are adding natural light because it provides not only a beautiful backdrop to a focal point of a freestanding tub, but it just allows you to kind of, again, commune with nature. So those are some obvious ways, but there are also skylights that we can be adding to these projects in different rooms so that you can also get it overhead, and that brings the light in and also gives you a certain level of privacy. And then there are, of course, solar tubes that act similarly to a skylight because they're coming through the roof, but they're a little bit easier to install.
Cool. I have skylights in my house, and I missed them so much when the snow was here for so many weeks because I just missed that natural light. Go ahead.
What's a solar tube?
A solar tube is also a penetration through the roof. And the interior of that tube then comes down into the room, and it's reflective inside. So it's bringing that natural light in and delivering it, but it's a softer light.
It's not, a skylight would be, very large, whereas the solar tubes are probably about that big in diameter, right? Somewhere around there. So, okay. Islands and gathering. If you have an opportunity to put an island in your kitchen, Put an island in your kitchen. It's great. It's a great place for people to gather. It's a great place for people to entertain. It's a great place for the kids and the grandkids to be doing their homework or coloring while you're making dinner. So we try to put an island in almost all of our kitchens. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to work around, the size that you have. But if we can put an island in your kitchen, let's try to do that because it works really well. And this is where you can add, as I said a little bit ago, you can change the color. Instead of doing, the same color cabinets everywhere, we can do a contrasting island to add a little bit of a pop into your space. Function, 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 function. I'm going to say it again. So I can promise you that a design that we give you, your kitchen or your bathroom, will be magazine worthy. I can promise you that's going to happen just because of all our talents that we all have here. But function is something that I find more important than the design. I want to know how you operate in your space. And I'm going to talk about that in your bathroom too. I'm not going to get too personal, I promise. But I want to know, how you cook. Are you the cook or are you the cook? Are you right-handed or are you left-handed? Where do you like the trash? Where do you like the dishwasher? Where do you usually put your dishes? How are you going to store that Tupperware so it doesn't fall out of your cabinet every time you open the cabinet? Do you bake? Do you have a space for your mixer? How are we going to have that mixer? I don't like things on the countertop. So I like a clear countertop. So if I could find a functional item in your cabinet to store something, I'm going to do that for you. So I'd rather have a nice clear countertop for you. So it's really important to us. This is a corner cabinet. This is a blind corner cabinet pull out. Anyone have a blind corner cabinet in there? Yeah, they're the worst, aren't they? Yeah, because nothing's back. Well, something is back there. You just don't know what it is. Yeah, yeah. So. This one is not. This is like a chrome finish, so I think it's catching reflection in there. But we could put a light in there. That's something that we could put on a little pop out. As soon as you open the cabinet, the light could come on. So we could do that. But this is a apparatus that goes into your cabinet, back in that dead corner, and you pull it out, and all of the contents come with it. So this is a great accessory for your house. The mixer pull up. So the mixer pull up, you don't have to lift that heavy mixer out of the cabinet to put it on your counter. It's a hinged countertop that pops up. Your mixer sits right on there. You could have an outlet underneath, so you could just bake your cake and poof, put it right away. Workstation sinks. I love workstation sinks because I think they're very functional. It's not just a plain old sink. It's also a cutting board. It's a drying rack. It's a place where you could rinse your vegetables. So there's lots of things that you could do with this sink besides put your dirty dishes in it. So this and about 50 more things are the things that we'll talk about, the gadgets that we'll talk about of how to make your kitchen more functional. There's also really cool things for your bathroom too. So pull-outs, organization, dividers, all kinds of things to make the space a little bit more manageable for all of our clutter that we all inevitably have.
I was trying to see how many of these types of decisions, just the function of a kitchen, tend to go into a list like this, and probably make up a lot of the 170 or 80, whatever you said. Functional kitchen, there's a lot to go through on that.
Without a doubt, like just even you're organizing your spatulas or organizing your spices or organizing your cutlery, like there is an accessory for everything. So it's, I'm an organization wannabe. Like I always want my house to be perfect. Of course, it's never like that, but I could geek out like Ken geeks out with the lighting. I could go to the Container Store and geek out there and just look at all the gadgets and just say, I want this, I want this. So we're gonna talk about all that. We're gonna get a little bit nosy and we're gonna open up your cabinets, and I wanna know in your new kitchen where the Cheerios are gonna go. I wanna know where the mixing bowls are gonna go. I wanna know where the Pyrex is gonna go. I wanna know how many spatulas you have. I wanna know all that so that your new kitchen design, everything will lay out just perfectly for you. Color drenching. Have you ever heard of color drenching? Yeah? What do you think of it?
It's not for me. I
Okay.
like it.
Okay. I said that, when it first came out, I was like, oh, I don't know about this, but we've all been doing it and we love it. We color drenched one wall in the back. You'll have to check it out. It's really fun. It's really a different kind of look. So that's where you paint the entire room the same color. You paint the baseboard, you paint the chair rail, you paint the crown molding, you paint the ceiling, you paint the door, you paint the walls. Everything is the same color. I just did a house when I was talking about Jamie and Bob a minute ago when we were talking about the colors. Their bedroom and their closet we color drenched in a deep, deep purple. It was called Exquisite Plum. And probably not something that I would have done in my house, but I'll tell you what, it was gorgeous. So it was really pretty. So it's a fun thing to do, maybe in one of your rooms in your house. Maybe, maybe it's not in every room of your house, but maybe in one room of your house. You get that moody little look. And it doesn't have to be a dark color, it could be a light color too. So it's just that.
Paint the ceilings too?
Paint the ceilings too.
Same color?
Same color. Yeah. So funny story for you. So I did a lot of painting in my house. I painted my kids' room. I would paint the living room. I did a lot of things. So I painted my son's room, and I did a really bad job cutting in. This was years ago. I did a really bad job cutting in. So I just took the color and just painted the ceiling. So I guess I was the one who invented color drenching. So anyway, so it's a thing, and it's pretty cool. All right, spa-like atmospheres for your bathroom. Oprah says that your bathroom and your bedroom should be your prettiest room in your house. And I'll bet that most of our bedrooms and bathrooms are probably not the prettiest rooms in the house. But they should be, because you're spending most of your time in your bathroom and your bedroom. Like half of your day is spent in your bathrooms and bedrooms. So you should make it beautiful. What's popular now in bathrooms is kind of like a spa-like look. So all bathrooms should have a bench, so you could sit and you could relax and you could let the water flow. All bathrooms should have a big niche so that your shower accessories, your shampoos and all your toiletries could be tucked away so they're not sitting on the floor when you walk in and kick them over. Towel warmers, they're super, super great when you get out of the shower to put a nice toasty towel around you. Freestanding tubs. Freestanding tubs are like a piece of furniture. They're beautiful, they're luxurious, they're very much like a spa, and they're just very relaxing, and they look gorgeous in a bathroom. Did you ever hear of a wet room? So those with big bathrooms can do what's called a wet room, where you have the tub in the same area as the shower. So you close the doors to the shower and the tub, and you could either be in the tub or you could take a shower, and it's like this room, warm, beautiful, luxurious room where you can go from the tub to the shower very easily. So wet rooms are really popular. Hard to see in this picture, but this is a wet room. So back behind that blue, can't go back there. Back there is the tub underneath that arched niche, and then the shower's right in front of it. So kind of a cool way to do it if you have the space to make that happen in your room. Let's see. Metal accents. So gold is super popular now. So gold handles, gold faucets. It's not your typical gold that your mother used to have in her house, that shiny brass. It's more of a champagne gold. It's more of a muted gold. It's more of a neutral gold, so it kind of goes with everything. But you don't have to stick with one finish. You can mix metals. So don't be afraid to mix gold with brushed nickel. Don't be afraid to add black in there. Don't be afraid to add bronze in there. It's okay to have your light fixtures gold and your cabinet pools chrome. Like, it's okay to do all those things. And in fact, it makes for a more charming kitchen or a more charming design when you can mix some of your metals. I know we've been taught that everything should be the same, like all your metals should be the same and all your wood tones should be the same, but not anymore. There's no rules. We could do whatever we want.
Now I get to geek out?
Yes.
I was so excited before. I wasn't sure what you wanted me to talk about and when. I love lighting. Lighting to me is one of the most important parts of an environment. It's how it makes you feel in the way that color gives you an emotional response to your surroundings. So we talked about natural light. I like to and incorporate as much of it as you can, naturally. Of course, we're in our winter months and we've realized that we don't have as much daylight as we want. So even if you have a space that has big windows, big doors, a skylight, a solar tube, when the sun goes down, the sun goes down. And you're going to need now a lighting system that's going to work for you and create a mood and lots of other things that I'll talk about in just a moment, those different types of light that we have to think about in our lighting plan. But the quality of light is really important with that. So there'll be layers of function, and I want to emphasize the word layers because a well-devised lighting plan has different layers to it that you can control independently. So you can bring up the light as much as you want by having all of those turned on, and that's going to add to safety, function. If you can't see where you're walking, if you can't see what you're chopping or cutting, you might hurt yourself, you might trip. Light plays a role in safety. And so you want to be able to layer your light, bring it up as much as possible, and then dim it, tone it down, create zones so that it's more of a mood or an accent or a highlight. So I'll take all of those concepts that I just said and apply them back to this. You have your ambient light, which is your general light. And most people, like we see here, have overhead light in their home. And that's nice because in that providing that general light, it does a nice job of illuminating the entire space, but it can create shadows. It's kind of like in a bathroom, that's why we have lights in front of the mirror. Above the mirror, to the side is even best. When you have light on each side, it's going to wrap around your face so that when you're doing your grooming, and for ladies in particular as you're applying your makeup, it's going to give you a better read of where you're applying it, what does it look like. So that general light is very important. I mentioned the task lighting when I was talking about having something illuminated where you're cooking, where you're chopping your vegetables, where you're doing your food prep. And then accent lighting is going to give you that mood, that ambiance, allow you to highlight an architectural feature like that bar area there. So those are some of the fundamentals, but there are a lot more nuance to it as well, because there are different light fixtures that exist. You have your incandescent bulbs, you have your LED bulbs, your light emitting diodes, and all of those come in different Kelvin temperatures. So what is a Kelvin temperature? It's the way that you can actually scientifically measure the quality of the light and how does it appear. That scale runs from 1600 to 16,000, and the brightest sunlight is your 16,000, right? And it's tungsten falls in there, different grades, but think of your yellow incandescent bulb. Everyone still have those, kind of what we grew up with. They're pretty predictable. That's a Kelvin temperature. And then when we first started seeing LED lights, at least in my recollection, 20 years ago, were Christmas twinkle lights that people would put on their home. And those were like blue and bright and obnoxious. And they were obnoxious in that iteration anyway. Now they've toned them down. They've been able to fix the, it's not a bright, harsh white. It's a different Kelvin temperature. So the way that you combine those are also important for the way that light makes you feel. There's a whole science to it that you can have different color temperatures throughout the day so that your morning starts out with something that's a warm temperature, that yellow familiar becomes whiter and bluer during the day, but you wouldn't want white blue lights in your bedroom at night, as your body is taking signals that the sun is down, but blue white light is counter to that. So it kind of helps with your circadian rhythms as well.
Always an interesting topic,
Yes.
to talk about. Like you don't realize, one light can make, or multiple lights can make a big difference in your room.
For sure.
All right, cool.
Any questions?
All right, so all these things that we're doing, the flooring, the countertops, the cabinets, the lighting, the fixtures, the metals, everything that we're doing is going to create your own story. So ultimately, after we do all these fun things, you're going to have your own storyboard like the Wilsons and like the homeowners who have all the pastel colors. So you'll have your own storyboard and you'll have your own creation. So that's the fun part that we want you involved in. You know, you're going to enjoy that. We can do it all for you. We don't need you involved, but most homeowners like to be involved picking all those colors and styles. So that's what we'll do together. We're now into the one of the next steps of our 5-step process, and it's more than design. So design is one major part of the project, but we have to do all the planning. So this is the part where we do behind the scenes that you don't see that takes us time to put together. We have to come up with all the plans for you. Just like I have to come up with a perfect plan of your kitchen with every cabinet dimensioned properly so that I know it fits properly, I have to come up with an electrical plan of how your lighting is going to lay out. We're going to sit and we're going to talk about where all these lights are going to be. Do you want some of the recessed lights? Do you want some sconces? Do you want under cabinet lighting? All of those different things. I'll come up with a plumbing plan. I'll come up with a countertop plan. I'll come up with an insulation plan, a drywall plan, a paint plan. All these things are going to be documented by us so that when we start to build the project, it's all done. And all the project manager has to do is take a look at it and build according to what we did. So we will come up with all those plans for you. During this development process, we're going to do a site visit at your house. So when we come out to your home the first time, we're coming out and we're talking more about the fun part of the project, the design, what your wishes are, what your goals are. There is going to be a point where we have to talk about some of the technical things. You want to take down that wall between the kitchen and the dining room? Great, we can do that, but I have to figure out what's in there. So I'm going to bring Don or Dave or Wes out to the house with me, and they're going to poke a hole in the wall and scope the wall to see what's in there. There might be wires, there might be plumbing, there might be an HVAC line going through there. We have to figure out how the heck we're going to get the HVAC into another area so we can continue to heat and cool your house. So those are the kind of things that we're going to do at our site visit. We're going to look at things more technically. We don't like surprises. We don't want to start a project and have to tell you that, oh darn, we forgot this, we forgot to tell you this. So we like to plan ahead for that so that we can foresee any technicalities that might arise as we do the project. Trade partners. We're going to bring a couple trade partners out to the house too. I might bring the painter out. I might bring the plumber out. I might bring the electrician out. I might bring the framer out. I might bring the roofing person out. So we're going to come out again, look at things, and assess what we have to figure into the project again, so there's no surprises in the future. So now we figured it all out. We got everything. We're almost to the finish line. We then document every detail of your project. So in the past, before I knew Cipriani, many years ago when we were first married, we did a lot of projects. And you know, the person would come in and they'd say, here, this is what we're going to do, that one-page estimate. And God, I hope it happened. I hope they did what they said they were going to do. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But there was always that sense of, I hope they do what they said they're going to do, because nothing was ever documented for me. So we put together an agreement for you that documents every single solitary thing that we're doing in your project. I've done an agreement as little as 60 pages. I've done an agreement as many as 750 pages. But this agreement will have every single thing that we're doing in your project. This one is a kitchen. So it starts with demo, then it talks about dust protection, it talks about our deconstruction plan, talks about our framing plan, talks about our windows, talks about the plumbing plan, the electrical plan, the drywall plan, all our cabinet layout. Here's our cabinet materials. Every make, model, and color is listed in here. So in 20 years, if you need to change your faucet in your kitchen, you can go back to this book and say, oh, that was a color. I don't remember, KC2743. Let me see if that's still available, or if you need a part for something. You have all this documentation at your fingertips. I say 20 years because I was recently at a homeowner's and they pulled out their blue book from 20 years ago that had every single thing defined. And it's really nice to have. It's great for you. It's great to pass on to another homeowner so that you have all this. So as you could see, this one is how many pages? 56 56 pages. So that's just a small kitchen. This is an addition that you can see is double the size. This one has, I can't see the page number. This one has 123 pages. So these are documentations that take us a little while to do so that you have that peace of mind that your project is going to go smoothly. This book is designed for me to leave this book on your driveway, and you and I can go to vacation for a couple of weeks, and the project manager could come in, pick this up, and say, okay, now I know what I'm doing. I know how to build this project, and they don't ever have to ask us another thing again because it is documented so well. So it's a really good thing for you to have. Anybody who doesn't give that to you is not giving you a fair project. So make sure you're getting this documentation. Okay, talked about that. And guess what? Now we're ready to build your project. So we're going to introduce you to your project manager. We're going to go over this book with your project manager. We're really not going to leave it on your driveway and hope the project manager knows what to do. We're going to review this with the project manager so that he has a full understanding, or she, Bella, has a full understanding of your project. Just like I work with a team of designers, our guys are a team. There is not one, I'm sorry, I say guys and girl. Bella is our one of our carpenters, and she's terrific. We have carpenters, we have lead carpenters, we have project managers, and we have apprentices. Our apprentices are growing with us so that eventually they can become a project manager. We have a lot of longevity in our company, and I can tell you that in most companies, project managers don't always stay. There's a lot of bouncing around between company to company. And I think a lot of times that is because the project managers are having a hard time with the company's processes, that the homeowners aren't happy. So nobody wants to work at a job where they're getting yelled at all the time. So if that's happening with them, they're jumping to another company to try to find a better lifestyle for them. We have a lot of longevity in our company. Jim, who's the second one in over, and that is a really old picture because Jim's been with our company for like 37 years. So he looks like he's about 40 there, but he might be a little older than 40. Nick, the third one over, he's been with us for 17 years. Sean's been with us for 14 years. All these guys have been with us for a while, and they stay with us because their homeowners are happy. Their lifestyle at their job is good. Nobody's yelling at them. Cipriani has figured it out so well that the job runs very smoothly and very evenly, and the homeowners eventually, ultimately have a great response. So there's not one guy in here that I say, oh geez, I hope you don't get him, he's not really good. Like, I have a lot of respect for every single one of them. They're terrific, they're talented. They come up with ideas. Sometimes we'll have this agreement written so perfectly and so beautifully and everything's perfect, and we'll have Sean will say, I got a better idea. Can I do it this way? And we'll say, sure, that's a better idea. Let's do it. So they're creative. They really care. They have a good sense of respect for your home and your family. This is my favorite picture. It's a little blurry, but remember that 750-page agreement I just told you about a little while ago? We were at that house for a long time. The homeowners were in Florida the whole time. So this house turned out to be just a huge renovation, and we all became just so engaged in this project. One of the rooms was a toy room that we did, and it was around, when did we finish? It was, anyway, I forget what it was. I guess it was the summertime, but the homeowner ordered all the toys, all the new toys for the playroom. So as they came in, the guys were so excited, they put all the toys together. And the day that the homeowners came home, we were all there to greet them when they came home. And the guys were all in the playroom playing with the little boy with all his new toys. So that's kind of how we are. We become part of your family. You'll like them, you'll miss them. I promise you'll miss them when they're gone. I was at a job recently, and I went in and I couldn't find Nick. I was like, where's Nick? I went in all the rooms. His truck was there, but I couldn't find Nick. Nobody was around. And a couple minutes later, I see him coming up, walking the family dog. So, they're there. They want to keep you happy, but they're just all around really good guys. Commitment to detail. You see Doug wiping a smudge off of the counter. You see, Andre measuring properly. You see Nick and Rich are underneath that fireplace checking something out, but notice what's on their feet. That project had just gotten their brand new floors in there, and there was no dust protection down because the floors were just done. So instead of walking on their floors with their boots, they started to wear booties. So there's a lot of respect that goes into everything in your house. When we give you your project, when we start your project, we're going to give you a timeline, and the timeline is going to say this is when we start and this is when we finish. We are very strict with trying to meet those timelines for you. Nothing worse than a project that drags out for 4 months longer than you thought it was going to last for. So the guys are coming from a job before you and they're going to a job after you. So those timelines are very important to us. So we want to make sure that we meet those timelines for you. And you will see on our schedule that says, oh, okay, week 2, you're going to have rough electric. Week 4, you're going to have rough plumbing. Week 6 is when your cabinets are coming in. So you'll be able to see a little bit about what's happening with your project. Eventually, we're going to be finished. You're going to miss us. You're going to be sorry we're leaving. But finally, there will be a time that we are finished and we will be able to give you the big reveal of your own project. So I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight on how your project will develop, how your contractor will help you through the process, how we can help you through the process. Of course, every one of your projects is going to be different. I could do 14 kitchens next year, and every single one of them will be totally different. So we'd love to talk to you about your individual projects and learn a little bit more, and then schedule a time to meet with you at your house.
You gave us the 5 steps that you go through. I was wondering at what point a commitment is made on both sides.
Very good question. So we come to your house for our first appointment. We do our preliminary design for you. We come up with, a concept in your scope of work of everything that we're going to do. We meet here at the office for another visit where we, take you through and help you to understand a little bit more about us, show you your design, show you your investment range, and then we talk about the next steps. The next step is what we call our project development service, and that's where we do further investigation. That's where we figure out the materials. That's where we figure out the design. That's where we figure out, how much exactly is this project going to cost. Most companies at that point will ask you for, great, you want to move forward with us? You want to do the project with us? Project's going to be $90,000. Give me a third, and then we'll develop the project. So give me $30,000, and we'll go from there. We don't do that. We ask you for a very small service fee. Usually it's a small percentage. It's a 2% of the actual project, and that takes us all the way through until we start construction. We actually work for a week, and then you start paying for your project. So it's a very modest investment to move forward through our project development whole process, but that's where you gain the clarity of exactly what the project will look like, and we we do all the documentation, we finalize the details of the agreement, and then we start building for you, and after week 1 you pay us for the project at that point. So long story short, after the second appointment, when we meet, is where we ask you if you'd like to continue and move forward. Did you have a question?
That was a good
That
one.
answered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So if ideally we wanted to say do something like July, August, how quickly do we begin with those initial conversations? Is that something we would look to do immediately, or just rough timing, is that a couple months out?
No, I would say immediately. We get going immediately.
Honestly, last week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to
because there's so much part of an education that it's the time for developing your project is partly up to you. How many questions you might have, how much of an education you might need, how available are you to make decisions, how decisive are you? And there are different ways that you can go about that partnership with your designer. You can rely on them to make it a very streamlined process. You understand me, you get my aesthetic, you understand my goals. Put together the plan, use your expertise and run it by me, and get my feedback, and you can move forward. Or someone wants to go to every single quarry around the tri-state area and look at every single one of them. So there are degrees. I say, start as soon as possible. July is right around the corner. And when we can start your build is much more than just a function of the decision making and creating all of the documentation. There is also a natural backlog of projects that we have commitments to other homeowners that have gone through steps as well. So it's never too early to have a conversation, go through steps 1 and 2 because it is complementary. Yeah. What's interesting, we kind of have a countdown clock in some ways, like in our office with different milestones, and people who were calling in the beginning of the summer and they say, I want my kitchen to be done for Thanksgiving, I'm hosting Thanksgiving, have already lost that window. It's not going to be possible in the summertime to have a kitchen completed when you think about construction. So we have different hallmarks because people say, well, I want my addition done before the kids go back to school. And what is that timeline like? So I don't know what the answer is because every project is different. Our backlog increases and changes, but the takeaway is it's never too early to start the process.
Yeah, you spoke basically about improving kitchens and bathrooms or whatever. How about like rebuilding with a concrete slab and starting an actual room off the side of your house? How's something like that work? Because you'd have to get concrete work. You have to get all that stuff, plumbers. How would you start something like that?
I would start by thinking of my excavator, but I'm kind of a joke because I'm answering that literally from a sequence of build. Mm-hmm. But yes, we have all of those capabilities. We do full additions all of the time, whether it's a slab, whether it is a crawl space, or it is a full walkout basement. We have those capabilities of working with all of those disciplines, and they're projects that we love doing because they are probably the most transformative when you're adding to a space like that.
Be on ground level.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right. So yes, we tend to talk about kitchens and bathrooms a lot, particularly in the way that we are designers, and that tends to be our focus because they have so many wonderful materials that go in with them, but we are full-on builders with all of the capabilities that go with that.
Do you have a tree guy? Like if you pull the house out and there are like lots of trees in your wooded lot by your creek?
Yeah, yeah.
You take care of trees too.
I'm starting a project in a couple weeks where we have to take apart a paper patio, remove trees.
Okay.
Plumbing's gotta go on a slab.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is too difficult. We're working on a project down the shore now where we had to lift the house. And we're building an addition on the back of the house after we lift the house. So yeah, there's a lot of, you think your project is complicated, there's always somebody who's got, something even crazier that we've done. So. Well, I thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your time and your patience sitting through everything. We'd love to chat with you, continue. We're all here to chat with you about your individual project. I think, Todd, you have everybody's information, right? So if you'd like, we can set up a time to come out and meet with you at your house to talk more individually and see your project and understand a little bit better about what you want to do. So one of us will come out with you in the next couple of weeks and talk you through everything and share with you more and more details. But if there are any questions that you have, day or night, you could always call us and ask us the individual questions, or stick around now and talk to us. We'll be happy to hear more about your project.